The fire crackled softly as we sat in a circle, the darkness of the forest pressing in around us. I glanced at my friends, their faces illuminated by the flickering flames. It was our annual camping trip, a tradition we had kept since high school. This year, we had chosen a remote spot deep in the woods, far from the nearest town. Everything had been going smoothly until that night. Do you guys remember what happened? Sarah asked, her voice tinged with unease. I frowned, trying to piece together the fragmented memories. I remembered the fire, the laughter, and the drinking. But after that, things got hazy. We were telling ghost stories, right? I said, hoping someone could fill in the blanks. Yeah, Mark replied, but he didn't sound sure. We were, but then, I don't know. It's like I blacked out or something. Tom, who had been unusually quiet, finally spoke up. I remember, he said, his voice low. There was something in the woods. My heart skipped a beat, a cold wave of dread washing over me. Flashes of the night surged back into my mind, shadowy figures slipping between the ancient trees, their movements fluid and unnatural. The wind carried faint, haunting whispers that seemed to come from all directions, speaking in a language I couldn't understand. An overwhelming sense of dread had settled over me, like a suffocating shroud, making it hard to breathe. Each memory felt surreal, like fragments of a terrible dream that couldn't possibly be real, yet the fear they evoked was all too tangible. What did we see? I asked, my mouth dry. Tom's eyes darted to the dark woods surrounding us. I know the feeling it gave me. Sarah shivered, pulling her jacket tighter around her. I thought it was just a nightmare we all had, in unison. I don't think so, Tom insisted, his voice trembling. A silence fell over us, the only sounds the crackling fire and the distant rustling of leaves. The fear in our eyes was unmistakable, but there was something else, confusion, like our memories were fragmented pieces of a puzzle that didn't quite fit together. Wait, Mark said suddenly. Didn't we run? I remember running through the woods, trying to get away. I remember that too, I said, the memory surfacing. Branches whipped against my face, the ground uneven beneath my feet, the sensation of being chased. But we didn't all run, Sarah said, her voice trembling. Some of us stayed behind. A cold chill ran down my spine. What do you mean? Sarah's eyes filled with tears. I saw you, Jack. You were standing by the fire, talking to it. Like you were in a trance. That's not possible, I said, shaking my head. I was with you guys. We all ran together. Tom's face went pale. No, she's right. I remember that too. You were saying something to it. Panic surged through me. But that's not what happened. I insisted. I was with you guys. Then how do we all remember it differently? Mark asked, his voice barely above a whisper. We sat in stunned silence, the fire casting eerie shadows around us. I could feel the weight of the conflicting memories pressing down on me, each one as real as the other but impossible to reconcile. Suddenly, a twig snapped in the darkness. We all froze, our eyes darting to the edge of the fear light. A figure stood just beyond the reach of the flames, tall and unnaturally thin. The details were obscured by the shadows, but there was something familiar about its posture, its presence. It's back, Tom whispered, his voice trembling. Who's back? Sarah responded. Oh, I don't know, I replied, my voice barely a whisper. Sarah clutched my arm. We need to leave. Now. Before we could react, the figure emerged from the shadows and stepped into the flickering light of the fire, revealing a face that sent a chill down my spine. It was me, or at least, it looked like me. But there was something off. Something inherently wrong about the way it moved and the expression etched on its features. Its eyes, once mirrors of my own, now glinted with an unsettling darkness, devoid of any trace of humanity. They locked onto mine with a predatory intensity, and a sickening smile spread across its lips, a twisted, malevolent grin that sent a shiver down my spine. The resemblance was uncanny, yet there was an undeniable aura of menace emanating from this doppelganger, as if it were a distorted reflection of my worst fears and darkest desires come to life. Some of us remember, it said, its voice a chilling echo of my own. Some of us don't. My friends screamed, the sound piercing the night, but I couldn't move, couldn't speak. The creature lunged forward, and the world went black. When I opened my eyes, I was back by the fire. My friends were gone, the forest eerily silent. The memories of what happened, of what was real, swirled in my mind, indistinguishable from each other. I was alone, but I could feel eyes watching me from the darkness. As I stood up, disoriented, I saw movement at the edge of the clearing. My friends emerged from the shadows, looking as confused and terrified as I felt. What happened? Mark asked, his voice shaky. We quickly gathered our things, the sense of urgency palpable. As we packed up, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was still out there, watching us, waiting. We navigated through the dense woods, the path a barely discernible ribbon in the dim light of dawn. The forest seemed alive, closing in around us with an oppressive, almost sentient presence. Tall, gnarled trees whispered secrets we couldn't understand, their leaves rustling with a language of their own. Every snap of a twig underfoot, every rustle of leaves overhead, sent jolts of panic through us, our nerves frayed and on edge. The sky slowly lightened, casting a ghostly pallor over the landscape, and our hearts leapt with relief as we finally glimpsed the edge of the woods. The sight of our cars, silent and waiting like sentinels, brought a rush of hope. We didn't waste a moment, throwing our gear into the trunks with frantic, fumbling hands, our only thought to put as much distance between us and that cursed campsite as possible. The forest grip seemed to loosen as we sped away, but the unease clung to us, the shadow of the night we couldn't escape. As we drove away, I glanced in the rearview mirror. For a moment, I saw the tall figure standing at the edge of the woods, watching us with an unnerving stillness. Then it was gone, swallowed by the shadows. We didn't speak much on the drive back. The silence was heavy, each of us lost in our thoughts. When we finally parted ways, promising to keep in touch, I knew things would never be the same. That night, as I lay in bed, the events of the past 2 days replayed in my mind. Just as I was drifting off to sleep, I heard a faint knock at my window. My heart pounded as I turned to look, and there, standing outside, was the Doppelganger, its expression blank, its eyes empty. It smiled, a twisted reflection of my own face, and mouthed the words, "Some of us remember." What did I stumble upon? What does it want from me?
Subscribe, please.